You really count. You come in early at time, we like that. So, for those of you that are new, I'm Chuck. I'm the wellness coordinator here. This over here is Tammy. She's our latest member of the team. Speaking of team names, that's Terry over there. She's our photographer, videographer, and picture-taking lady. So, and you know Chef Mike, and his special guest, chef with him.
My name is Zalai.
Z, as in Zorro.
You can call him Z for short.
Yeah. So, it's all yours, Z.
Thank you,
And Mike.
thank you.
All right, so yeah, if you've never been here before, we're just going to do a quick demonstration. It'll take about an hour, and then we have about a half hour for questions. You can ask questions certainly throughout, don't be shy. We are using some different ingredients tonight, and then after, everybody can kind of taste everything, and it's going to be great. So I figured since tonight was China, I would bring along one of my friends. He was a student of ours through SUNY Erie through the Culinary Arts program, and he was born and raised in China, and he wanted to come and help and share his passion for cooking with everybody. Everything's very authentic. He was really excited, and I know I always try to make sure that you guys can buy all these ingredients from like Wegmans, but we do have got a few obscure different ingredients from the Asian market that he shops at a lot. So if you have any questions about some of the ingredients that we're using tonight, just I'd be happy to answer any questions like that. But as everybody knows, I try to be pretty thorough as we go along. So to start off, we're going to do something a little different this time. You don't have a recipe in front of you for this, but we're going to make a little bit of a tea, like a Chinese tea.
Chinese chrysanthemum tea.
Chrysanthemum tea. So if you want to explain a little bit what we're going to do here.
I never got this back home. One day I saw this at the Asian market. It says Kunlun dried chrysanthemum, but for me it's block chrysanthemum. So it have like darker color, have a very strong taste. Not very strong taste. For a flower tea, it's a very strong taste tea. And goes really good with lemon. I sliced some lemon earlier, and I also got this Longyan honey come from Taiwan. Have very distinctive, very.
You can certainly use regular honey too.
Yeah, you can also use like any honey would work, but this honey has different flavor to it. Goes really well with the tea. It's like this is the honey I chose, and lemon is not very necessary, but I feel like lemon in the tea is always good. That's why I add lemon to all my tea. And right now I'm waiting for the water to boil, then I'll get the tea ready.
So once that comes, it'll take about 5 minutes for them to steep the tea leaves, and then we have little cups. We'll kind of we'll come around and we'll everybody can kind of sample their tea as they're watching the rest of the demonstration.
So what Asian market do you shop at?
The Asian market is on Niagara Boulevard, where the old Walmart is.
Yeah.
Across the Home Depot. Yeah, now that's the Asian market.
All right, so what did we say? We were going to start out with our salad, right? Yeah. So you have in front of you a recipe for Chinese vegetable salad dressing, and we're going to make this dressing, and we're going to put it. We're going to toss it with a bunch of different raw vegetables. We just picked out some really nice things. I have some already prepared here, but I'm going to chop up some of the rest of them. And you can use any kind of vegetable you like. That's nice and crunchy. We just don't recommend anything like broccoli or cauliflower. It just doesn't really soak up enough of the flavor, and it kind of gets a little, would you say, like soggy?
Soggy.
Yeah. So in front of me I have, this is just some bok choy that I washed. They also come in the smaller variety, like a baby bok choy. The leaves are a lot more tender. They're not as aged as this. I still have to wash this a little more. But we can use all of this, the leaves especially. But I also like to use more of the root end because you get more of the crunch. You definitely get more texture out of all of that. Okay. It's okay if it's still a little wet. It's not going to hold on to too much. So we have some bok choy, some really nice bok choy. I also have some English cucumbers that we're gonna leave. We're gonna leave the seeds in. Sometimes we would remove them. I have some really nice organic carrots here. They're like there's some gold, a little purple. This is just you can use any kind of carrot you like. You can even buy the carrots that are already shredded in the pack. You just spend a lot more money on that kind of stuff. Okay. So I have these vegetables in front of me. We also have, the last demonstration we did, I used Napa cabbage for my jicama slaw. So we brought back our Napa cabbage. That also gives you some really nice flavor. It's not as strong as like green cabbage. It's a lot more tender. It doesn't take as long. Like if you were to make, you could certainly use green cabbage, but it's going to take a little more time for that to kind of soak up any of the flavors. So in this pan here, I just have some julienne orange peppers, some red peppers, yellow peppers. You can certainly, like I'm going to keep saying, you can certainly use any kind of raw vegetable you like. And Z, as you're going along too with the dressing, you can talk about that if you'd like.
Right now I'm just setting up aromatics for the dressing, and right now I have a bowl. In this bowl, I have chopped cilantro, ginger, and garlic.
Ooh, the oil, right?
Yes, I'm gonna heat up some oil and pour over the aromatics so it can release the flavor.
So I have on your recipe avocado oil for this. So you can certainly use any kind of oil you like. It just has to have a high, like it has to be able to come to a high heat. What's that? Gloves? Gloves, yeah. Thank you. Okay, so we have just some bean sprouts here. Bean sprouts are a nice crunch in the salad as well. I just want to make sure everybody can kind of see what we're doing here too. So for the Napa cabbage, what I did here was just cut it in quarters like this 3 times so that we have some nice quarters. You can kind of see that here like this. And then if there's any undesirable leaves at the top, we'll remove those. And we'll start to do a nice fine slice on that. So we're just looking for little strips, kind of like so, okay? We're not looking for anything too large. Okay, so we have our Napa cabbage. And I like to go right down kind of to where that root end is, and then that gets just a little too firm, so you don't want to eat any of that part. But this at the end, it's just a nice crunch in there. So we have that. And then here's our bok choy. So we're just going to take, again, some of the top leaves off. And then I like to slice the whole kind of head like this. You can certainly remove them and cut them into smaller pieces, but if you just kind of run your knife through the entire head, you can get some smaller pieces. And you could do this technique with any kind of lettuce, like romaine lettuce is a great technique. It just kind of holds everything together. Okay. Going to go down like that, so we do have some of that nice texture, nice color, the dark leaves. And then you can certainly use some more of this. That's just great. We'll save that for something else. Okay, tea's going in, huh?
Almost done.
Okay, oh, okay. And then these are just some sugar snap peas. I like to just, if you I did kind of try to remove most of the, there's a thread that kind of goes through it off to the side. And then I like to just run my knife through these, just like so, just so you have these nice little strips. Okay, so we're just going to kind of do that quick. We're going to run our knife through. And then, Z, if you want to grab the mandolin, we could do some carrots.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then our pan is smoking hot over here for your aromatics as well. Don't be so formal.
You're not in this class anymore.
For me, it's like, given he's the chef, he's always been a chef.
And what's the difference in the honey you said?
The honey should have a different taste to it. You can use any honey you like.
I don't know what kind of.
The flower is called 龙眼. It's just a type of flower.
How do you call it?
龙眼.
Loia?
龙眼 means dragon's eye.
Dragon's eye. That's interesting. Okay. In this this vegetable salad over here that we're making, I try to get some nice vegetables that'll hold up, because we're gonna have this sit for about 20-25 minutes, just to let it kind of hang out. So you want to find some vegetables that are definitely a little more hearty. Okay, that looks good. And once we get our carrots, we can probably cut this one too. We'll cut this one. Okay. Starting to look good. And then our cucumbers, you want to just leave these, cut them in half? We'll slice them up that way, or do you want to you want to use these on the mantle? Just whole?
Yes.
Whole slices, okay. All right, so this, I understand everybody doesn't have, you want a julienne or just slices? Julienne. Everybody doesn't have a mandolin at home, especially not of this caliber. This is just our, like a restaurant style mandolin. And it does a whole bunch of different stuff. I think I've used it here before, but you can certainly use a box grater, or you can slice we're gonna run some cucumbers over it, and what happens, these have little teeth on it, and it cuts them into little strips. You can certainly remove the teeth and just have it to where it slices a lot thinner, but you have to be careful because these blades are really sharp, and they usually come with a guard, but every restaurant I've ever worked in, there's never been a guard. So you just kind of have to be, you gotta be careful. So really quick, this does a nice little julienne here, if you can see, right there. And it just saves yourself a lot of time. Okay. So we're just gonna do some cucumber like this. Like I said, you can slice them as well.
Be careful.
Thank you, Chef.
He hurt himself on the mandolin like when I was in first year.
Oh no, that was a deli slicer.
Oh.
I don't want to relive
So
that.
you weren't wearing your gloves?
Oh, I was.
Yeah, you're making me.
It was more than the glove that got sliced off my hand. Save that for a different day. Yeah. We're not going to talk about that. It's hard for me to slice pancetta ever again. Anyway, let's see what happened.
It happened.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, should we serve up the tea?
Yes.
Okay, I have that little ladle there.
I have a little bit here.
Okay. Oh yeah, I just thought, I didn't know if it'd be easier for these little cups. Okay. You want to continue on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it quick. This pan over here, do you need this oil? I didn't have
I'm
the oil
gonna
yet.
start to add oil.
Okay. Just, yeah, these things get really hot.
Because sometimes we want the flavor, but the flavor only comes through the heat. But sometimes we saute, it's overcooked, and it will burn. And especially if we use scallion and garlic, that's the vegetable usually it's got burnt. And so we pour hot oil over it.
Totally in the way, right? Very-
Save the oil can release a flavor, but we are part cook it, but we don't really cook it.
Okay. Oh, that's okay.
Oh.
Well,
So right now I'm about to pour hot oil on top of the aromatics. Just be careful when you do this at home because the oil is really hot. You can see it's smoking right now.
That's why it's important to use a high smoke point on the oil. Okay. So that opens up all the pores of those vegetables. Releases all the oils.
Right now I'm
garlic.
just gonna let it sit for a couple minutes so it can release all the flavor, all the flavor combined together.
Yeah, you can shut off that burner. They're all very helpful. Thank you. Should have told them the story after the fact. Okay. Oh, these extra. And they can just take them off the tray, I think. Laura's going to come around with the tea. We can take one. And if you don't want one, that's okay. But okay. Now this is just spent, right?
This is the aged black vinegar. This vinegar actually made like where I come from, made in the town where I grew up, and this is what I grew up.
Is there a way you can describe the flavor
Flavor.
for anybody who's never heard of or had? Because when I tasted it, it almost had like this kind of like smoky, like coffee, I thought. It had like this, it's very robust.
That's the hard part for me. This is so.
To put English words into.
Yes, this is like this is why like my vocabulary is so dry. English.
Where are you from?
I'm from China, northern part of China.
This is delicious.
Thank you. This I'm using right now is oyster sauce. So most common sauce used in Chinese cooking. Have a little sweet saltiness to it.
And that's made from like extract of oysters, and it has natural saltiness, right?
Yes.
And it does have a little sweetness to it as well.
Would fish sauce be a replacement for that?
It is not. Fish sauce is using a very different application.
Okay.
You must cook the fish sauce.
Okay.
Otherwise, it tastes like lockery.
That's a good word to use. Okay, so we have all of our vegetables here. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? We're gonna get that all mixed up together. And then once we get our dressing finished, we're gonna throw it over and we're gonna kind of marinate. And now the recipes here are pretty. All these recipes are from Z here today. You'll see he's not using as many like measuring cups and spoons is sometimes we do here. He's just he's done all this stuff so many times, and he's really great at what he does. So trust the recipe. He's got it all in his head. I brought measuring cups. I brought a measuring cup.
Whatever that.
He's not happy with that.
That is not amino acid. Look what it's amino.
That's the soy sauce substitute.
Yeah, I just do a ton of
Did you not?
Not happy with that.
So,
didn't expect that.
what were you expecting? Did you drink soy sauce like that too?
I drink the vinegar like that, but I never drink soy sauce like that.
Okay, so I like to use, this is, it's a soy sauce substitute. He's going to kill me for this. And it's gluten-free, and it's just made from the soybean in water.
I'm looking for a cup, so I know how much I'm putting there. This is really different from me. Yeah.
Okay. You got just the right container here. Okay. Now we can put it over here.
So why are you using that instead of soy sauce? You start
So it's gluten free. It just has a lot better. It doesn't. The sodium content is not as high. You still do get the good saltiness from it. They do say it is like an exact substitution, like for your recipe rather.
not by his face.
Not straight up.
It's not made by Kikoman or anything. So is it Chinese or is it Japanese?
Kiko?
Yeah.
I think
You know
it's
the soy
Japanese.
sauce?
It's okay. It's very confused. I work in the restaurant with the open kitchen, so I have different type of people come up to me like, oh, this is Japanese, this is Korean. Like, I'm Chinese. It's like, I mean, I know we look alike, but
All right. Okay, so is that all the dressing there?
Yes.
Okay, great. Should we add to that?
what's the add the vegetable to this?
Do you think that's enough? Should we get it all? We could start adding to that. Okay, so now we're just going to start tossing our vegetables with the dressing. Yeah, a little more. Okay. And then we're just going to let that kind of hang out and get nice and kind of like almost marinated. You can eat more, you can. Good? Okay. And then we're going to start talking about our next dish, which is our bitter melon cups with the pork. So this was, Z wanted to do something with bitter melon. It's really widely used in Chinese cooking, like a lot, right? From what I've researched.
Yes.
Okay. And it's really high in vitamin C. Like a cup of it is worth like 93% of your daily suggested vitamin C intake. It's really high in vitamin A. It's good for bone strength. There's like the list goes on and on. There's just a lot of potassium. It's just, but what you have to do with bitter melon is you have to blanch it first so that it doesn't taste bitter. So this is what it looks like. You want to explain a little bit about how we did, how we're going to do our bitter melon cups?
I'm gonna leave it to you because my English is a little bit.
Oh, don't. Okay, so this is actually, it's a gourd. It's part of the gourd family. It's not really a melon, but it's called bitter melon. You have to find this at the Asian food market. I couldn't find them anywhere else. So.
Sometimes vitamins carry it, but most times it doesn't.
Okay, so we're going to take these and we are going to slice these into 1 inch approximately rings like this. And we already did this ahead of time, but I just wanted to show you kind of what it looked like. So we have all these discs like this, and then it works better with a paring knife. I just don't have it. So, yeah, it cuts right through. It's really, there's no resistance.
Right.
You cannot eat it like this. You can, but
You
You're
don't
gonna-
want to eat it like that.
you're gonna get the face that he had when he tried the liquid aminos. So then I like to just kind of get my knife in there. If you can kind of see this. go right through the center of it, and then kind of go to the end and just twist your knife until kind of the seeds start to come out. The middle is kind of foamy, but we just want to take out as much of that white center
Would a bell and baller work?
as possible. Sure would. Sure. Probably anything but this knife I'm using. Just a spoon like this. The other side of the spoon. Okay, like I said, a paring knife works just as well. So we're actually removing the entire inside. There's a white around it. It's kind of like the flesh, and that's where it's the most bitter, I think. Yeah, I wanted to call it the pith. That's what you call the citrus. So you kind of want to remove most of that, and then you bring up a pot of boiling water, and you drop in your bitter melon, and then after your bitter melon is in there for like 3 or 4 minutes. Once it comes back to a boil, then you want to cook it until it releases all the bitterness
Yes.
that kind of comes out. But
Okay.
you still want it to be kind of firm.
I need to interrupt you. I'm gonna do something really loud, so I have to interrupt all you guys.
You're gonna smash the.
I'm gonna smash the ginger and the scallion so I can soak in water. I want some like, I want to say stock, but it's just soak in cold water, so it's not stock. How do I explain that?
Just like
Make some water with ginger and scallion flavor. That works?
yeah.
That works?
People in the front row get a little ginger too. Okay, so and the reason we're bruising that is it just helps release all those oils. And then are you going to cut that up then?
Just like this. This is all I'm gonna do.
And that's for the
That's for the ginger scallion water. For the pork
pork
filling.
filling. Okay, right. These are his recipes, kind of. So I'm trying to do the talking, and he's going to do most of the cooking. Okay, so for that recipe, so are you going to start working on getting the stuff ready for that?
Yes, I'm start working on the stuffing.
Because you're more of like the eyeball cook here.
Yes. Most of the Chinese cooking doesn't have a exact measurement. You just have to go like some people, because every people have a different taste, so they don't bother to measure everything, and you can just eyeball however you like it.
So once those bitter melons get blanched, this is what they look like. This is what we're going to do. We're going to fill these with our filling that we're going to make right now. So this is kind of lean ground pork. I couldn't find the ground pork last night when I was shopping, so I was at school today at ECC at SUNY Erie, and I ground up some pork, like some pork shoulder, pork butt, and I didn't use as much of the fat as you normally find. I did say, can we use ground chicken or ground turkey, and he gave me that same look. Because you think that you need a little bit of the fat to kind of counterbalance the bitterness from the melon. So this is what it looks like. It's still pretty firm. And if you don't want to go out and buy bitter melon, if you really like the filling, I was thinking you could even put it in a mushroom, or you can like put it in.
The filling I did is more like dumplings filling with the paste. So it's easier for you guys. You can put in dumplings, you can put in spring roll, anything you can put in. It's just really delicious.
So now kind of explain what we're adding here. So we got our oyster sauce.
I just add the whatever.
Liquid aminos.
Yes.
Everybody's
And
gonna-
add some oyster sauce. I'm about to
That's on for our soup.
soup.
Yeah. That's white pepper.
White pepper.
What do you look
Yes, we're looking for
for? Little sesame.
a little bit sesame oil.
A little bit goes a long way, right? Because as I found,
Sesame oil is really, really strong. So usually every time you use sesame oil, you just want to use a little bit, not too much. Salt.
I can cut that. A bunch? Half a bunch. Okay, half a bunch of cilantro. Anytime I do cilantro, I always like to go through it and make sure there's no sand or grit. So I like to just, with the sharp part of your knife, just the blade, just gonna run my knife along the shoots here. And it's definitely okay with cilantro. Cilantro shoots are full of flavor and texture, so I don't mind. They're just nice and tender leaves. Obviously, you're not gonna use like rosemary, like you can't use those stems, but cilantro, they're nice and kind of tender. Okay, and you said a half?
Yes.
This is kind of small. Just half of that?
No, half
Do
of
that.
that's good.
Okay. Because I know I need more for soup, right?
You can chop them all and use half. There's a method to mix the pork. I understand what I learned from school. We don't want to overmix the ground pork, but for fillings, we want to overmix, like overmix it. And right now it's really loose. We can just pick it up, and you start to mix the pork in one direction. So you give the ground pork strength, so they can hold them together.
Okay, so just half of this, my friend?
Yes. Right now, I had 2 eggs in there as a binder for the pork. So I have to break it down a little bit. Now I have to mix in one direction.
There's no breadcrumb or anything in here, so it's all just,
What is mixed right in the mixed basket?
what's a mixed master?
Kitchen.
Yeah,
Yes.
you do it in a KitchenAid, right?
Yes, of course.
Yes. Great question.
Are you doubling this recipe?
Yes, of all these recipes, we're doing like at least twice or 3 times, so just so that way everybody can. I think there was 3 pounds of pork there, right?
Yes, there's a 3-pound pork.
Okay, so while you're doing that, once that's mixed up, we'll show them how they get into the cups,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm gonna start sweating our tomatoes for our soup. How about that?
Yes, chef.
Okay, so in our pot, medium-high heat here, we want to get a nice hot pan. Let me move some of this stuff around. Because we're going to add our tomatoes. Our tomatoes, we're going to start on our tomato egg drop soup.
Right now the pork's pretty mixed. You can see the pork is pulling strings when you move it, and when you grab it, it's still together, not falling apart.
So for our soup, we're going to add our, these are all ice cold, so we want to make sure our pan is nice and hot, because this is going to cool it down a little bit. These pots. The smoke alarm's going to go off again, Charles. That happened when I did shrimp on the Barbie.
So now the ginger and scallion came out. We have the ginger scallion water. We add a little by little, and then we stir the water in there. So when you bite into the filling, it's very juicy. Ginger peel is edible. It's just a little bitterness to it. I like to use ginger, but I like to eat ginger peel and use ginger peel, but most people don't like it, so I did not use ginger peel this time.
So it was.
Yes, I peeled the ginger before. An easy way to peel ginger is with a kitchen spoon. So it comes in like the root, they're kind of all, gnarly looking. I like to just take just a regular teaspoon, and you just run the teaspoon along all the different kind of like craters that are coming out of it, and then you don't lose any. Rather than just kind of going at it with a peeler, it's going to be a nightmare. So that's just a quick little tip on peeling ginger. Okay. How's her feeling? Okay, great. Oh yeah, you want to try it? Make sure. All right, so this is what we do in the restaurant all the time, or wherever we're working. We just kind of grab a little pan, and we'll just taste a little bit of the filling. We're not going to obviously taste it raw, but rather than, so we'll just kind of heat up a little pan. We'll put a tiny bit in there. And then once we check for seasoning, we're just going to drop. We're going to drop a little bit of the filling into each cup, and then those will get baked at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes, you say? Okay. All right, I can do that. Do you want to talk about the soup?
Yes.
Can I try the tea?
Yes, of course.
If you want any more tea, I have one. Okay. So those are just the tomatoes with the oil.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna add a little salt to our sauteed tomato because salt helps break it down. You don't have to add too much. 1 pinch, 2 pinch should be good. The reason I want to do a egg drop soup is because every time I cook egg drop soup at work, they were all excited. Oh, egg drop soup! That's the reaction I have. So I believe egg drop soup is a very popular soup in the U.S. and also egg drop soup is a very common dish in China. Everyone knows how to cook it. Everybody eats it. It shows in a different way. You can reduce it as a sauce for a noodle or to put over rice. There's many ways you can use it.
And you said you don't always need, like in America, we use chicken stock.
Yes.
But that's not.
That's not the case because chicken stock has chicken flavor, and we want tomato taste. We want like the fresh tomato taste.
About chicken stock.
Very nice.
Oh, we're not. Okay. I just wanted to. I didn't want to. I did the shopping. Okay, we're gonna. You want to try the filling here? Is it good? You don't want any else. Okay.
Maybe it's a combination.
A round of applause. A little more salt. Okay, just a pinch of salt. And this is completely optional here. A little more of this. Is it okay if some of this falls in
Yes, he likes to.
there? Okay. So we just have tomatoes and salt right now on
This
it?
is
Okay, show them on the camera what it looks like.
where's the camera?
Right there. So that they can see it projects on that screen there. I know it's hard to do.
So it was very warm.
You can kind of see it kind of broke down very
So right now I want to break
He's
down like
better
this.
than you are.
You might not see you next month. Share it. It's a
It's a-
gourd. It's a gourd, so that would be considered, yeah.
So it's what? Vegetable.
Vegetable, it has seeds. Right?
I don't want to say like tomato has seeds.
Isn't that considered a fruit? Is that kind of just what we're looking for? A little more? A little more? Okay, so we're going to just start adding our pork filling to our bitter melon. Thank you. All right, I'm going to try to do this quickly so that we can get them in the oven. They bake for about 20 minutes.
Before you do that,
We're going to do everything. Oh, stir it.
oh,
We'll do everything together, yeah. So now we're adding the tomato,
we just add the
we're
stock in
adding
there.
the stock, right? Okay, so we have our stock. You don't need the recipe, do you?
Stock?
Need the recipe?
Stock recipe?
No. Or, egg drop soup recipe?
No.
There are tasting soups. There's
I couldn't find a tasting spoon. I was using a teacup to try the soup.
be adding vinegar for these for taste. You did on the bottom. You could use.
Oh yes, because I think a little acidity goes with pork would be very nice. Sometimes we have what's the dish with chicken vegetables not make place sometimes.
I don't know if there's a classic name for that.
Similar application.
Like adding balsamic.
Yes. And, so
Poultry
you
or-
kick.
Bitter melon is a vegetable fruit. Vegetable.
It's a vegetable fruit. Okay. This I've never had this. I've never had bitter melon before, but Z has been cooking it very rapidly since I told him that we wanted to do this. I asked him to help me with this demonstration, right?
Yes.
Um,
My girlfriend's sick of eating it.
So like we stressed, you have to cook it, and this is not typically the way you eat bitter, right?
Yes. Usually I will slice them really thin, so you can like minimum the bitterness from bitter melon and the blanch it, shock it, and the causeway salad like this over there. It goes into everything you want, and you can do a stir fry, however you like.
In blanch and shock, that just means to drop it in boiling water, just until it's like al dente, like still to the bite. You don't want to overcook it too much. And then shocking is in ice water to stop the cooking. Okay. Halfway there. Does anybody have any questions for either of us while we're just kind of working away here? So do we add anything else to the soup?
Other than the salt, I didn't add anything. I added a pinch of salt to the egg, so it's easier to break egg down.
Is that just 2 eggs?
This much.
Great. Alright. So once we get, I'm almost done with these. Once we get these finished, we're going to put them into the oven. I didn't spray or anything. The little bit of fat that's in the pork will make it, will help so they don't stick. And then this will go in the 350 degree oven for 20 or so minutes. You want the filling to be cooked all the way through. And once we have our, once these come out of the oven, we'll get ready to serve our soup. We're going to do our soup in the same cups we had for our tea, our bitter melon cups. Explain them. I typed the recipe wrong for the egg drop soup. It said to turn down the heat, right? But you said you want it to be
On the recipe,
continuous rapidly boiling.
on the recipe, third line in the middle of it, turn down the heat to a gentle simmer. Then slowly drop the egg. But I want to use like rapidly boiling broth. So when I drop the egg in the soup, the egg just cook right away, not like sitting in the soup for quite a bit.
Okay. 20 minutes. Okay. This is it. And then you don't add the soy or what else goes in there? And you need juice of lemon, right?
Juice lemon was full of
Okay. Okay, so we need more cilantro. And then you need a little slurry. You're putting that together. A slurry is when you just take cornstarch and water and you mix it together cold, and then you can add it to boiling liquid, and you want to continuously stir it, and that's what will thicken up your, in this case, our soup. Used a lot to thicken a lot of traditional Chinese sauces, right? And you want to make sure that your liquid does come to a boil so that you know your slurry is fully activated in your dish. So this isn't going to be like too thick, is it? So it's just enough to kind of
to
poke
not
back to your
give
spoon a little bit.
get rid of the water texture, so it's not like running so thin.
Okay.
So see, do you eat out Chinese?
Yes, I do.
Where do you go?
My favorite place used to be Home Taste on Delaware.
Yeah, I was just talking to her about it.
Yes, but the owner just changed like last year, so the quality went down
Well,
a lot. And the other place I used to go to is called China Taste on Sweden. That's the place pretty good as well. China Taste on Sweden. I think that's about it. I've tried all the Chinese food here, and Home Taste is far from me. I live really north, and home, because I go there because their taste good, but they're not as good anymore. So they're still good. It's just not as good as before. And I will, but I don't think I'm gonna open a Chinese restaurant. I'm not a Chinese chef. I learned everything here. I just need a serious home cooking. I prefer cooking Italian food or French food. Because I went to ECC for college. Yeah. Proving that you're Chinese, you cook Chinese food is, for me, is different case.
I didn't think that. So.
My other
I bet everybody's thinking. I bet it was him. I've already been in trouble enough today. What would you need? You want to drink some tea? Bigger cup.
China taste.
Okay, so what else do we need for our soup here?
For soup, soy sauce.
Okay, so we're rapidly boiling now.
I like my
There it is. Very good.
The name of the tea. If anybody, we're going to put all this stuff up here, so when anybody tries anything, you can certainly look at it, take a picture of it on your phone. And then cilantro goes right in,
yes.
right at the end.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we always add any kind of delicate herb like this, we'll add it at the end. It'll help retain all of the flavor possible, and especially the color on that. It won't cook down too much.
I'm keep tasting this because I use the stock instead of water, and I'm not familiar with that stock, and the stock is giving me something I never tasted before, so I have to make sure the soup can come out right.
Accidentally dropped the bottle. pepper here. This is just from a little grinder here. Just some white pepper. You can use black pepper as well. So now here, I'm going to hold this so we can see. So explain what you're doing here with the eggs.
Right now I'm about to drop the egg, and I need soup to be like rapidly boiling. So when the egg goes to the pan, it just cook right away. It's not like mixing with the soup or it's coming together. It's just going to cook in separate.
And how long does this cook?
Right now I'm about to drop the slurry. After the slurry is done and the soup is done. After we add
So it's a pretty quick soup.
yes, it's very quick soup.
And you can use vegetable broth if you want,
You can use vegetable broth if you want. You can use any kind of broth you want.
or just water.
Just water. I prefer water. Water gives you the fresh taste from the tomato and also makes the egg in the soup. Like you can see the egg clear through the transparent soup. You can see the egg floating here. It's just pretty.
Cilantro. Looks great. Okay. Our salad is really nice. Some of the vegetables are starting to break down a little bit. See some nice color here. You can see some nice carrots. Good. So then once, so it's okay, you're not gonna overcook the egg. Cilantro? Okay, cilantro is going in. That's enough there?
Chair, it's a high quality chair. Really good chairs. No, I don't need one.
Yeah.
Okay, don't get one.
looks like here. If you can see, here you want to, just so that they can see what it looks like over here. And you put cornstarch, that's what the 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, 4 tablespoons of water. You mix that with cold water ahead of time, and then you kind of stream it. And
At the end?
Yeah, right at the end. And you have to bring that back to a boil so that way you know how thick it's going to be. Because if it's not boiling, it's the starch is not active. All right, so I'm going to start to pass these out. And then when I'm done passing these out, I think we can have the rest of the other things. Okay. Oh yeah. Nice and juicy.